Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing an overview of thermal expansion and thermodynamics for dummies, which basically means you don't know how to play it, you've never seen it. And I'm going to be going over everything except for the recipes because you can just look those up on the wiki or in here. And yeah, let's get into it. So we have a lot of things to go over, so I'm just going to be quick. So first things we're going to do is the dynamos. So the steam dynamo can run on any furnace fuel except ones that don't last even 300 ticks. So anything below the burn time of 300 ticks, like oak wood, it wouldn't go in there. And you can use any type of coal, anything that burns in a furnace. And the reactant dynamo reacts fluid with a solid to create energy. And energized glowstone or destabilized redstone can react with these 5 things. Either of them can. And cryotheme and pyrotheme are interchangeable. These are the only combinations that work, the up and downs. The other ones will not work. And the magmatic dynamo, it creates energy from lava and hot liquids. And you can use lava and blazing pyrotheme, and if you have industrial craft installed, you can use hot coolant or pehoho lava. And the enervation dynamo, it creates energy from energy infused items like redstone and energy cells and flux capacitors that have energy stored in them. And also, if you use a mechanism, you can use energy tablets or energy cubes. And the numismatic dynamo creates energy from coins. So you can see all these coins here. And also emerald. And a common way this is used is with iron farms. And the compression dynamo, the last one, it basically burns liquids, sort of like the steam dynamo with liquids. And the compression dynamo requires coolant, and so does the steam dynamo. I forgot to mention that. And it can be water to like cryotheme. And it can burn all of these. These are all the only ones it can burn from thermal expansion. But if you're playing with other mods, there's a lot of different things. So I recommend you to go into recipes and check that out. And here we are, power storage. Thermal expansion only has one block that can store power, and that is the energy cell. But with upgrade kits, which I'm going to explain in a second, you can get it to hardened, and the basic one will store 2 million, the hardened one will store 8 million, the reinforced one will store 18 million, the signalum one will store 32 million, and the resonant one will store 50 million. So you have a good amount of flexibility, but not as much as some other mods. So now we're going to get into augments. So this may look a little bit intimidating, but basically how augments work is if you were to go to a machine with, say, a hardened upgrade kit, the worst one, like this, you can see it in Hawila, it says basic. If you were to right click on it, it would upgrade to hardened, and you would unlock augmentation. And reinforced gives you 2, and signal gives you 3, and so on. So these are all the augments. I'm going to go over them really quickly because there's a lot of them, as you can see. So the auxiliary reception coil, it increases machine speed, but it makes them use more power. And the auxiliary sieve, for the secondary output, increases the chance of getting a secondary output, which I'll explain later. And this destroys excess secondary outputs. Like if you are making something and the secondary outputs clog it up, it'll just destroy them. And this is a specialization, our first specialization. It's only for one machine, and only one specialization may be installed per machine. So basically what it does is you gain additional food when cooking, but only food can be cooked. And this is another specialization for the redstone furnace. And you can gain additional output when smelting ores, but only ores can be processed and additional energy is required. So this is another specialization for the redstone furnace, and it allows for pyrolysis and creosote production, but only certain items can be processed, and processing speed is greatly reduced. The tectonic initiator increases the yield from ores in the pulverizer, but tectonic petroleum must be supplied and additional energy is required. The resin funnels for the sawmill, and it allows for fluids to be extracted from logs, but it requires additional energy. This is for the induction smelter. It's not a specialty or specialization, but it can only be installed to the induction smelter. And this provides a chance to not consume metallurgical flux, but additional energy is required per operation. And this is for the induction smelter. If you don't know what these machines are, don't worry, I'm going to explain them at the end of the video. And this increases the yield from ores, but additional energy is acquired and blazing pyrothene must be supplied for the induction furnace. This is for the phytogenic insulator. It provides a chance to not consume fertilizer, but additional energy is acquired per operation. And this is for the phytogenic insulator, and it allows for trees to be grown, but not all trees. And this allows, if it's for the compactor, it allows for the creation of currency, which is for the numismatic dynamo. And monoculture cycles for the phytogenic insulator. And non-fertilizer inputs are not consumed, like seeds and stuff, because this is a growing machine. And it provides a minor chance to not consume fertilizer. But secondary output chance is substantially reduced and additional energy is acquired per operation. Pyroconnective loop is for the magma crucible, and it greatly increases the speed, but only lava can be created. And this is a specialization for the fractionating still. It greatly increases conversion efficiency, but additional energy is acquired. This is for the fractionating skill again. Allows for potions to be refined, but only potions can be refined. And this is for the compactor. It allows for the efficient creation of gears, but it will not manufacture plates anymore. And this is for the energetic infuser, and it allows for them to be charged very rapidly, but it cannot exceed charge rate of the item itself. And this is another one for the energetic infuser. It allows for damaged items to be repaired, but it will no longer recharge items, and S's of knowledge must be supplied, which is basically liquid XP. And this is for the centrifugal separator, and it allows for the processing of morbs, which I'll explain later, and they will provide items from the contained mobs, but only morbs may be processed. This is for the energetic infuser again, and this allows for rapid wireless recharging of flux capacitors, but it will no longer accept, process, or recharge items. And this is for the sequential fabricator. It's not a specialization though, and it adds a fluid tank in the machine, but not all recipes are compatible, and the fluid in the tank can be used in recipes. This is for the igneous extruder. Water is no longer consumed for operation, but only one specialization may be installed. This is for the sequential fabricator. It's not a specialization, and it adds intelligent auto input capability, but 2 slots are designated for each crafting slot. This is for the alchemical imbuer, and it provides a chance to not consume reagent, but additional energy is acquired. This is for the igneous extruder again, and allows for the creation of sedimentary rock, but igneous rock cannot be created anymore. And this is for dynamos. It increases their power generation. It doesn't increase efficiency, it just increases how fast they generate power. This increases efficiency for dynamos. This allows insertion and extraction throughout the coil. So as you can see, there's a coil on these, the top, that's where they can get power, but you can also get items through there now. Where were we? Okay, so for dynamos, it's advanced throttle. It prevents RF loss due to flux coil saturation. So if they're filled up, they won't continue burning. And this is for dynamos. It converts it into a steam boiler, and it increases the fuel efficiency, but it cannot be throttled, and steam is produced instead of RF. And I think this is only applicable to steam dynamos and compression dynamos. And this is for the magmatic dynamo. It greatly increases power generation and efficiency, but coolant is required for operation, such as water. This is also for the compression dynamo, and it says coolant is no longer consumed for operation, but some coolant must be present. You can't just have none in there. And this is for the compression dynamo. It greatly increases power generation and efficiency, but only refined fuel can be utilized. And this is for the steam dynamo. It increases the power generation, but it can only accept steam. So these two, steam to this, increases power efficiency. They can be used together. This is for the compression dynamo, and it greatly increases power generation, but only gasoline can be utilized. And this also increases power generation and efficiency, but only elemental reactions can be performed for the reactant dynamo, such as pyrothene and cryothene, like we talked about before. And this is for the numismatic dynamo. It's a specialization, and it allows for various gemstones to be used as fuel instead of only coins, but now only gemstones can be utilized, no coins. And this is the last one. It's for the enervation dynamo, and it allows for enchanted items to be extracted. So that was the one that could only get energy from items, but now it can get enchanted items. But now only enchanted items can be utilized, and the items are destroyed. So that's it for the specializations. That took a while. So now we're going to get into thermodynamics, and this is the energy stuff, and this is the basic one. It transfers 100 RF a tick. This is the hardened one. You can use it. You can apply these upgrades to them. Let's say you get these, and it gives 4,000 RF a tick. And this one is redstone energy, which is this, and it gives 9,000 RF a tick transfers. This is signalum, 16,000 RF. This is resonant, 25,000, and this is cryo-stabilized flux duct. It gives infinite. So this is definitely an endgame one. They kind of scale. This is early game, obviously. This is endgame. And these are the fluid ducts. So for this one, it transfers a good amount, but if contents are too hot/cold, like cryotheme or pyrotheme, it'll break. And there's an opaque version of all fluid ducts, but I'm not going to place them all down, just like you can see here. This is hardened, contents may be any temperature, it doesn't break. And this signalum plated one transfers fluids and RF in the same pipe, so it's quite useful. And this superlaminar is limitless fluid transfer rate. So these are the item ducts. So this item duct is just a normal item duct. This one, it says it's a normal item duct in Huayla, but it actually increases the length of the item duct. So it takes the items longer to get to the side. This green one decreases it. And there's versions of those for everyone, but again, I'm not going to place them all. This is the impulse item duct. It increases the speed of them greatly. This is signalum plated. It can transfer RF as well as items. And this is a combination of the two, signalum plated impulse item duct. It increases the speed and transfers RF. This is a structural duct. This is not a part of fluid ducts. Basically what it does is you can craft it with another block. I didn't mean to do that. Let me just grab a crafting table. And you can combine it with another block and you create that. And you can use that to cover up your, if I can do it. Yeah, you just have to click on it. And if you use all 6, it completely covers it up. So it looks like a grass block, but it's actually not. And you can walk on them as well. It creates them in a solid block. So it's pretty useful. But it doesn't do anything when it's placed like that. So now we're going to get into the last ducts that we have, and this is the viaducts. So basically, you place them down, and then there's no hole at the end, so you have to right-click it with a crescent hammer. And then if you right-click it, you can see there's one transfer point, and that's right over there because there's 2 ends. And if you go through it, it transfers to you, which is pretty fun. And this is what it looks like. And so now we're going on to the machines. For this, I've used the infinite flux ducts and a creative energy cube from Mechanism. So the first one is the redstone furnace. And basically, this is just a furnace that smelts with electricity and nothing else really. Now we're on to the pulverizer. This is thermal expansion's duplication. It turns iron ore into 2 pulverized iron ore. And this is a sawmill. It creates 6 planks and sawdust from 1 piece of wood. And this is the induction smelter. It requires sand to smelt stuff, and it will be consumed. And it can also combine other stuff, but just to smelt normal stuff, it requires sand. And it has a possible secondary output of rich slag or slag, depending on what you're smelting. And it gives 2 gold ingots. So it's basically pulverizer and redstone furnace in one. And now we have the phytogenic insulator. There's 3 types of phytogrow it can use. There's normal, rich, and flux. This is the best version, fluxed. So if you put any seeds in, it will... Oh, I forgot it requires coolant. It requires water. I forgot about that, but just imagine it's growing. You can see all these recipes. It uses water and a flower or mushroom or anything like that, melon seeds. Yeah. And now we have the compactor. It compacts stuff. So if we have 5 blaze powder, it will compact that into 1 blaze rod. And there's a lot of different recipes here. You can compact a lot of different stuff. You can make plates out of it as well. And you can see you got a blaze rod. This is a magma crucible. It creates lava out of blocks and other liquids. And it takes a little while, but it will eventually do it. Like you can see how slow it is right there. And this is a fractionating still. It takes fluid, like you can see there. We'll just put 1,000 millibuckets in, and it turns it into something else. And I think what it's going to do here is make a rosin and tree oil. Maybe rosin, that's a secondary output. And yep, we got 100 millibuckets of that and 1 rosin. And for the fluid transposer, it basically, you can see I filled it up with sap. There's 2 modes. There's fill from here, and there's empty something from here into there. So we're going to do fill, and if we put phytogrow in, it'll give it sap, and then it'll turn it into rich phytogrow. And there's the energetic infuser, which infuses items with RF. So if we were to put this in there, it'd go a little bit slow, but it will eventually turn it into flux phytogrow. So that's how you make the best version of phytogrow. And here we have the centrifugal separator. It separates stuff into its like base materials, as you can see. I have 2 light gray concrete powder. That's going to be turned into gravel and sand, and there's a secondary output of light gray dye, but I didn't get it this time. And here we have the sequential fabricator. So it can craft stuff. And if I set that as the recipe and put 4 oak planks in there, it'll craft one. And alchemical imbuer brews potions. As you can see, I have a potion of strength in there. If I was to put glowstone in there, I don't think I put enough potion in there. Just give me a second. I think I needed a little bit more. There we go. So 500 millibuckets is the minimum apparently. And eventually, it'll get there and upgrade it to potion of strength 2, which is basically just an automated version of the brewing stand. As you can see, it got 500 millibuckets of that. And the arcane ensorcelator, I think, requires essence of knowledge, which is again liquid XP, a book, and whatever you can see the recipes. There's a lot of different things you can use to make enchanted books, but the rosebush will take a little while, but it will make a thorns 1 book, and it requires half of this, and it takes a long time. Like you can see, it barely got there, but it's quite good because you can make enchanted books. And this is the glacial precipitator. And how this works is I just put 2 buckets of water in there, and it freezes it into packed ice, and you can select what you want it to freeze into, like through this menu. And I'm just gonna clear out my inventory a little bit. And this is the last machine that requires power. This is the igneous extruder, and I already have a bucket of water in it. But once I put 1 more in, it'll create cobblestone, and it'll just continue doing that. It will not use it up. But if you were to do stone or obsidian, you would have to put more in, and it would consume it. But that's a good thing to have. And here we are onto the machines that do not require power. And this first one is the aqueous accumulator. And what it will do is if you put 2 buckets of water on the side of it, it'll start getting water, and it can output that to machines. So that's quite useful. And this is the nullifier, which basically just erases anything you put in there. It's pretty self-explanatory. And here we have the thermal mediator. Basically, if you put water in it, it'll start, you can see this plus 20 here, it'll start using the water, but it'll give a plus 20 bonus to any machines next to it, which is nice. It doesn't really do anything for this because it's just instant, but you get the idea. So, now we have the arboreal extractor, and for this I have to move it to this tree here. I'm just going to break this, that was there earlier. And basically what it will do is, you can see, if it's not there, this thing is not lit up. But if it's on a tree, it will. And depending on the tree type, you can check it on the wiki, it'll get different stuff. For the spruce tree, it'll get 100 resin every cycle, which is about 30 seconds. And it goes up to a minute if you have 4 on there. And from an oak tree, it'll get sap, and from different trees, it'll get different things. So that's quite useful. You can use it to get power. And so for the aquatic entangler, it basically, if you go over here, you can see I had one running before. You put it in there, it'll go blue. You can see right here, it's gray, it's kind of grayed out. But if you put it in there, it has to be 2 high and 5 by 5. And it has to be on the middle top of that, and you can see it's already caught a fish. So that's useful to get infinite fish, basically. And now we have, I'm just going to keep clearing out my inventory, the item allocator. So basically, if you were to put this on, you could go to configuration and auto input, and it'll take that stone and you can put it wherever you want. So if you were to click output there, never mind, that wouldn't go in there. But if you were to, let's say, place a nullify here, you could quickly, let me just access it from the back. You could, I believe, put it up there. Never mind, I just put it back in the cache. Here, let me just, I want to do this. Okay, so if you were to put that in the back, and you would set the back to that, you put that in there, it would go in there, and it would nullify it. So I might as well talk about configuration right now. So you can see there's orange and blue and a bunch of confusing stuff here. So basically what it does is the orange is the output. It'll output whatever it can. If it can, it'll output there if you have auto input output on. And the blue is the input, so it'll take from there if it can. And there's also an extra thing over here. There's yellow as well. So if we go here, there's red, which is the primary, and then there's yellow, which is the secondary. So that's basically what that means. It can, orange is both of these, and there's a blue and orange setting. So it'll put everything, it'll take from there and put in there. That's basically what that means. Just let me set the time. And that's what the item allocator is. The fluid allocator is basically the same thing. It'll take fluid and it'll allocate it wherever. So it has 3 tanks, you can see. You can lock it to certain things. Like if you press this, it'll only accept water in that forever. And if you were to, is there anything here? Well, if you were to output it back up the top, it would output back into there. So this is a useful thing because it's basically a sorter, but it doesn't require power. So this is a lexical transmuter, and this is only useful if you're playing with multiple mods. So you can see I have copper here from Thermal Foundation and one from Industrial Craft 2. Basically what it'll do is if you put one in there, it'll set that as your preferred, and you can do that, and it'll turn it into that. So that's pretty useful. And this is the insightful condenser. What it'll do is it'll collect XP from around it, and it'll turn it into liquid XP. So you can see it's taken 800 millibuckets, and I would have the priority. So, but if I stand over here, it would all go into that. So you can see it's already gotten 3,960, which is pretty good. So this thing will spread potions within a nearby area. So if I was to put that in there, not do that, sorry, do this, it would spread them around, and you can see I'm invisible. And if I was over here, it would be invisible. And I don't think it works with splash potions, so just keep that in mind. So now we have, that was not supposed to happen. Okay, well, now we have force sand. This is a factorizer. And if you put, there's a lot of different recipes. You can combine and you can split. So if I was to do this, it would combine force sand into a sandstone. And if I put on a split, it can't split sandstone, but you get the idea. Oh, I thought it was an F-phone because I was invisible. Here, I'll just, no, whatever. So this is the second last machine we are here to cover today. And if you supply it with morbs, which are empty, and you have a creeper here, it will capture that in a morb, which didn't, I think it ejected, oh yeah, it ejected into the, something it ejected into. So if we put that in there, that's not working. Let me just grab this and break that, because I think that's the reason it's failing. No? Can I only put one in there? Huh. Well, I don't know what's happening, but I think it's because I'm in creative. There's something to do with that, but it should output the morb here. And you can see there's a lot of different morbs that you can capture. Like there's skeleton, elder guardian, zombie, everything like that. And this is the last machine. It's a vacuum emulator. And if I was to grab this out and I was to throw it right here, it would take it, and it, because it's outputting, it would take it and just collect it. So that's all thermal expansion. Let's just check on this thing. It's only gotten 2 fish. That's pretty pathetic. And these things have 800. So that's all for this thermal expansion. And if you guys enjoyed, be sure to comment down below. If you didn't, comment down below what you didn't like. And I'll see you guys in the next one.